with lots of pieces of paper.
Apologies for killing the trees. Alright, Mr. Speaker, I've got a lot of it, so I'm just going to bomb through it. First big point rebuttable. My two main points that I'm going to look at today, just to signpost to you, will firstly be the protection of women in the press for equality, and secondly is going to be protection of the vulnerable. So first point rebuttable doesn't fit into that. Let's look at the black market and then protection and state institutions and whatnot. Because firstly, Beth stood up and told us that once it's state sponsored, that offers a massive amount of protection to people. But we say that the NHS and the BBC are state sponsored, yet they still allowed a massive amount of harm to happen underneath them. Jimmy Savile. Okay. Secondly, on the black market, what we say is that the black market is still going to exist. That takes down a lot of the stuff that the proposition has been bringing to you. Let me explain to you why. Firstly, like Beth just stood up and told us, if those prostitutes are going to be protected by the state and they're not going to be allowed to treat them roughly or to throw them out, men are going to be so scared about harming that prostitute because that prostitute is protected by the state that they're going to be so scared to use those prostitutes because they don't want to be punished for harming that prostitute that they're still going to turn to the black market to get the sort of sex that they want to get, because they're not going to feel like they can go and get the sort of sex that they want to from the state-sponsored prostitutes. Secondly, the women that don't pass the psychological test that Luke set up, another point we're going to bring down in a second, those women that don't pass the psychological test are still going to turn to the black market because they still need the money because they coerce into it. I'm going to explain that again in a second. Okay, and then also, we say that there aren't going to be enough people that want to come forward and to sign a contract with the state to fill up these state prostitute houses, and therefore we say that the black market is still going to exist because there's still going to be a demand, a larger demand than what the state can provide for, and therefore the black market still exists. Therefore, they've solved nothing through their mechanism. First point, because what we say to you, Mr. Speaker, is that the minority of prostitutes, underneath their system, are going to be men, and the minority of prostitutes are actually going to fully consent. This is something that Luke tried to bring down with a half-assed POI, but we don't think that he did so, because we say that the coercive forces mean that you can't consent. So even if you go, even if you pass a psychological test, and even if you sign a contract, that form of consent is completely different to other forms of consent. Why? Because we say that if you are completely vulnerable, this is my point of protection of the vulnerable. I've skipped women, I'll come back to it. So underneath protection of the vulnerable, we say that it's socioeconomic forces that lead you in to that trade. And we say that, as I brought up in a POI, it's completely different by me picking to go and do a job at Tesco's and to sell my labour to stack shelves. We say that that form of an economic coercive force is completely different from the economic coercive force that coerces me to go into prostitution. Why? Because we say that prostitution, as the top half's already told you, is inherently harmful. We say that it's different stacking shelves to it is having a man coming to me in the dead of night and actively doing things to my body. Why? Well, Luke's already stood up and told you, and you can see from my point, because if he stands up and says that they promise psychological help to these prostitutes, and they promise them counselling and support to get them through the job that they've signed up to do, then he consents that there's going to be a massive harm to those prostitutes. He concedes that. Because he concedes that because Tesco's aren't offering me psychological help to go and stack shelves, yet the state will offer me psychological help if they've allowed me to participate in a profession that's going to cause me a massive amount of not just psychological, but also physical harm. No, thank you. Is willing, and the proposition are willing to abandon women to this bad socioeconomic hole, a hole where they're completely fine with allowing women to be coerced into taking a job that they might not know the consequences of, Mr. Speaker. And we say that that is a massive point within this debate, and that's why it's coercive forces. Because I can never know the impact of that sexual act happening to me, someone paying to use my body as a commodity. I can't know the psychological consequences of that before I sign up to it. But we say that I can know the psychological consequences of me stacking shelves, so therefore I can consent more to that than I can consent to being a prostitute. Because I am not fully aware of the psychological harms that are going to come attached to that, psychological harms which Luke has already told us are going to happen to those women, and we're not okay with the state sponsoring such a trade. So then secondly, why the state also has a duty to protect the quest of feminism, because we see that when the state authorises prostitution, we already accept that the majority of prostitutes are going to be women, and they're going to be coerced into it, and we say that the state is saying that the current status quo of women being used as sexual objects for men is completely fine with them. The state's completely fine with me being used as an object for the sexual desire of men, and they prove legalise it. We say that that isn't a precedent that we're okay with. We're not okay, and the feminist cause is not okay, and 50% of the female population is not okay with the state saying that we should be the commodifications for men to use for their sexual pleasure. We're not okay with men being allowed to come and buy that service from me. And we say that like the minority of women just want to go out and just have lots of sex and receive money for it. And it's such a minority that that point has to fall. Because the majority of women don't want to go into that trade. The majority of women don't want their bodies to be used that way, but they're coerced into doing so. So they're not getting proper benefits from the state. And now underneath them, the state has said that that is an adequate way for you to get money and you have no longer our responsibility. For all those reasons,